Welcome back to The Grind is Real. My name is Gabriel Uribe, your host, and today we are going to be discussing the topic of comparing yourself to others and how it fucks you over.
So I really want to talk about this topic because I feel like in the world that we live in now, it is so prevalent and it is so it's something that goes unnoticed so often as well, because I don't really think people are willing to talk about how many of us compare ourselves to other people. I can speak for myself saying that for a long time, I really thought it was like a dirty secret that I have about the fact that I compare myself to other people and how it makes me feel, mainly because it felt like an insecurity I was admitting. And I don't think it should be that. I think it is, we're living in a world where we're so inundated with information all the time. Everyone is telling everyone what they're doing and how great they are at doing it and how easy it is for them doing it. I can speak from myself and personal experience, especially being an actor in the entertainment industry. Everyone I know is doing something on set over here. There's always someone booking a job. There's always somebody, meeting this celebrity and whatnot, and having a film be accepted to a film festival. All wonderful things, all blessings, all cherry on top. But I know for myself, it is so easy to fall down that rabbit hole of comparing yourself to that person and whatever accomplishment it is that they are accomplishing, and turn that inward and feel inadequate, feel like I'm falling behind, feel like I'm not doing enough, feeling like a failure, to be frank. And yes, I can say that a lot of those feelings, when I really deep dive into them, are inner child wounds. And I think a lot of people operate from that wounded place. I know I have. I know I do sometimes in my life. But I have to always remind myself that all of this stuff isn't real. This 3D world we're living in is a concoction of what we make it to be for ourselves, whether that's through our choices, whether that's the people we surround ourselves with, the environments that we are in. I think it's really easy to feel like the world is out to get you. I know I felt that way. There was many years that I've felt that the world was out to get me. Why couldn't I just figure it out like everybody else does? But I also believe that when you compare yourself to other people, it is the ultimate thief of joy, and it is a death of creativity, and it is silencing your own unique truth. Because if you're so worried about what other people are doing or what people are going to think about you, for that matter, then you're completely taking yourself out of the game. I've done that many times. I've had to look myself in the mirror and yell at myself, essentially, for doing that in the kindest way possible, in the most uplifting way possible. One of my mantras that I am I am enacting in my life is not telling myself no. Everybody else can tell me no, but I will always tell myself yes. And with that comes having to shut out the noise of, well, this isn't up to par with what somebody else is doing, or nobody's done this, so how could it possibly work out for me? For everybody else, it seems like whatever they're doing is working out just great. So what's that formula? Can somebody tell me, please? Because I would really like to know what it is. And it's such a mental gymnastics. A perfect example is earlier this year, I had a really huge milestone audition for myself. And on the way home to do it, after I had booked my coaching session and everything, I was bored in the car and I went on Instagram and I saw how everybody else was accomplishing all the wonderful things in their life. And I immediately forgot about the audition. I did it, but I forgot about it in that moment, about this wonderful accomplishment I had, and started focusing on what everybody else was accomplishing, which is great for them. I don't mean it in a way that is like, I want to be the only one that accomplishes things. No, I mean it in a way that I took my moment and threw it away, because once again, I was operating from a place of hurt and woundedness, that I couldn't see what was right in front of me. All I could see was everything that wasn't in front of me, everything I didn't have. And that really triggered like a really bad couple of months for me mentally, because I was trying to figure out, how do I get out of this? what am I doing wrong? It always comes back to the self. It always comes back and it's like, well, what am I not doing? Can somebody please just tell me? And it was a really hard couple of months for me. I had to take a break from social media because I just couldn't bear to re-trigger myself constantly with all those things. And it had nothing to do with anybody. It had everything to do with myself. And I think that was, you go through things like that because I think it really, there's an evolution in it. Obviously, when you're in the middle of the storm, you can't see it, but it pushed me to have to create a different perspective for myself when it comes to this area of my life of comparing myself to other people and not feeling adequate enough. When the reality is, I'm plenty adequate. The fact that I had a really huge audition is a metric that I have adequacy, plain and simple. And that goes for everybody. I think we're always, I think it's really easy to get caught up in the noise and what everybody else is doing and fall down that rabbit hole rather than just taking a step back and breathing and being like, that's great for them, but that's their journey. That's not mine. I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be in this very moment. Otherwise, I would be somewhere else. I wouldn't be here. I wouldn't be learning these lessons that I'm learning. For me now, what I do to manage this and is one, talking about it, because I think once you talk about certain things, you create connection and it helps lessen the blow a little bit. But I also am somebody who likes to journal. So when this situation happened with myself, I went home because I knew I could not do this audition in that headspace, which was a great first step for myself. And I journaled and I asked myself those questions that, well, why do I feel this way? What about this is making me feel this way? Not just on a conscious level, but maybe on a subconscious level. Because sometimes, we're not reliable narrators of our own story sometimes. We think that we know what's going on with us, but sometimes we don't actually until we take a good look under the hood and not be afraid to. So I asked myself, am I really upset that somebody has a film in a film festival? Because do I have a film in a film festival? No, I don't. So what am I upset about? Well, nothing. I'm not upset about that. I'm upset about the fact that I believe I'm not doing enough. Well, where does that come from? Well, that comes from growing up as a child who was always told that they were not good enough, that their behavior wasn't good enough, that why couldn't they be like all the other kids in school? Why can't you just sit there quietly and not be disruptive like all the other kids in school? Why can't you be more well-behaved like your sister? So I don't think people realize, the detriment that words can have on children. That's a topic for another day. But I know for myself, this level of awareness is a great step into healing that. Especially as a creative, when I get into those modes, I am my own worst enemy. It's completely, my inner saboteur, as RuPaul would say. And it's crazy. It is crazy how, at least for myself, how willing I've been to just do that to myself. For the sake of what? Licking my wounds and feeling like I have some sort of control on the situation? Because in reality, the only thing I can actually control is the way I feel, my emotions, and the way I view myself. Everything else is out of my control. I can steal my joy, I can kill my creativity, and I can sit there and suffer in silence. Those are my options when I begin looking at everybody else. And then on top of that, I think you always have to remind yourself that, in reality, there's probably one person out there who is comparing themselves to you. Meanwhile, you're comparing yourself to the person in front of you. I think it's just having that level of awareness, knowing that you're exactly where you're supposed to be. There's always going to be somebody right in front of you, right behind you, and to the sides of you. Always going to be people outside of this quote unquote race of life cheering you on or throwing tomatoes at you because they just don't like you for whatever reason. I think it's really just about having awareness and learning how to manage it. And I know for myself, I love to take social media breaks. I love to just post what I got to post and sign out because I know it's not always good for me. And I love celebrating other people. I think it's wonderful. And another quote that somebody once told me was, I am what I think you think I am. And that to me, when somebody told me that, I was like, oh my goodness, that is so true. If you think about it, people are always trying to problem solve things. We're always trying to figure other people out. They're always wondering, well, what does this mean? They said it this way, this text, what are the contexts of this? Always trying to figure everything out. And especially in the spectrum of comparing yourself. You become what you think somebody else thinks you are. So if I believe the next person thinks I am the greatest person in the world, well, then I'm going to hold that belief when it comes to that person. But on the flip side, if I think that, I think that Sally Joe over there thinks I'm the most talentless, awful human being, I can pretend I don't believe that. But if I have assumed that somebody believes that about myself, well, that's going to linger on somewhere. That's going to sink down a little bit. So I think I always have to bring myself back to that. It's not true. It's only true if I let it be true. If I think what I think you think I am, well, then I will be that because I've allowed that to be my belief about myself. Rather than just being a little bit delusional and being like, you know what, I'm great. Everybody else is doing is great. But that's their journey and this is mine. And I'm going to own it and I'm going to rock it. And that's all we can do. That's all you can do. Be your authentic self. Be honest, open. And now don't worry about what other people are doing. Celebrate them. Rejoice in the joy of theirs. But just remember, your path is your path. Mine is mine. We can all be part of the different stories that are on this beautiful planet, but all we can control is how we view ourselves, the goodness we put out or don't put out for some people, and keep rocking on. So yeah, keep rocking on, keep being your most authentic self, and doing the damn thing. Thank you for listening to my soapbox this week. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.